Hello folks. So in today's video we're going to actually see how to deploy your applications onto the internet. So this will actually be a series and this is the first of the series. The idea is that people build a lot of applications these days. Um, some people actually host or like deploy their application on the internet and let others use it. Some people just locally deploy it in their local machine and show it others, or just share their code and like show it others. So I want to help these people who are just locally deploying and not on the internet. And uh, and there are multiple ways to actually deploy your application on the internet, especially web applications, backend APIs, or just completely front-end applications without any backend APIs and whatnot. Uh, so we're going to look at some easy options to start off with, and also free options. Yes. So in this video, we're going to be particularly looking at this thing called Heroku. So Heroku is actually a kind of service that comes under the category of platform as a service. So what this means is that, so in general, deploying your applications on the internet is not so straightforward. There are quite some steps to it. But these services called as platform as a service, they actually tell you that, hey, you just give me your code and tell me what to do to start your application or like run your application, and then I'll take care of deploying it. Okay. So it's as good as just giving a code and they'll take care of deployment. So we'll look at Heroku today, and there are more services like Heroku, more platform as a service, and there are other kind of services also that can help you with deployment. Cool. So let's get started with one sample application. So Heroku actually supports multiple languages. I will actually be doing only Node.js today, a very simple Node.js application, Node.js server. So I would recommend you to sign up on Heroku. If you want, you can actually give your credit card to get more free quota. So Heroku actually provides some amount of free service on a monthly basis. And if you want more free service, it's possible by giving a credit card or debit card. Uh, but yeah, but you should be able to run your application even without giving that details. So now let's get started with our sample Node.js application. So I'm just going to actually, look for a code for Node.js HTTP server. So looks like this is the most basic example. So I have a Node.js demo app over here, and I have no files over here, and I'm just going to create this first file. I'll call it maybe server.js. Cool. So let's run this. Let's see what version of Node I have. I have 12.19, and let me just run node server.js. And if I just go to localhost 8080, I can see hello world. Okay. So now now what you can actually do is try to deploy this application on the internet. So how would you do that? Now that we have the sample code, so this is the code. That's all you need. I mean, as a basic application, you might have different kind of applications, but I'm just going to use this one, and try to deploy this on the internet. Also, you can see that I can use my command line also to hit this application and get hello world. So now I'll stop this server, and let's get started, right? So to deploy to Heroku, there are multiple ways. I'm just going to go ahead and use one of the ways. So before we do that, I'll actually open up Heroku.com, and so I'm logged in, and we can go to the documentation. So the documentation looks something like this: devcenter.heroku.com. I'll put this link in the description. So you can go ahead and choose which language. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose Node.js. So there is getting started on Heroku with Node.js, and there is deploying Node.js apps, and there are many other things, right? So looks like I think this should be enough. So this tutorial will have you deploying, in minutes. Hang on to learn, and free. Okay, so you need to have your Heroku account, and you should have Node.js and npm installed. So let me see if I have npm installed. I do, and yep, so I'm ready to start. So you need Heroku CLI, which is a Heroku command line interface, which is a tool by Heroku, command line tool. And you need that, and you need Git. Okay. So here we are actually looking at yep, Heroku CLI, and if you don't already have Git, you can just get it. So in my case, I have Git. Okay, but this current application is not a Git repository. So I'm just going to go ahead and do Git in it, and the Git status. Oops. And commit this code. If you don't know what Git is, I think it's fine. It's not really so core to what we're going to see now, but I would recommend simply checking it out if you have time. Add server code. Uh, yeah. So I actually created a Git project repository over here, and I also have the Heroku command line interface. So for different platforms, you can install it in a different way. So I have Heroku command line tool. Okay, and so I'm on macOS on Apple. So you can just choose this if you're on macOS, Windows, and then there is Linux and Ubuntu. So get the latest version of Heroku CLI and type Heroku login to login. You can just do Heroku login, and you can press any key or Q. So I'll press some space. Okay, and just click login. So you should be logged in into Heroku for this login to work, or this will take you to that login page. And I'm logged in as this email ID. And you can type Heroku, who am I, to actually check if you're logged in or not. So I'm logged in. So the login is good, and you need to have Git and npm and node. Okay. So I've installed. Move on. So there is a Node.js getting started, but I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to go ahead and use my application, which is over here, the server.js. And the next thing to do is you can actually create a Heroku application. So you can give a name. Actually, here they have not given a name, so I'm just going to say there's no name, is it? One minute. That's weird. Oh yeah, name of the app to create. So you can just say Heroku create and then give your name. So I'm going to say Node.js demo app Karupaya. That's a big name. Let's see if that works. Okay, so my Heroku app has been created. And it says it gives me a URL. So this is a URL by Heroku called herokuapp.com, and the subdomain is my app name, right? You can see similar examples over here. Let's go ahead and see what it shows. It shows Heroku, welcome to your app, and refer to the documentation if you need help with that. Okay, and there is a Git URL over here, and I'll also check if I have. Okay, so previously actually I wouldn't have had this. So now I have a Git remote reference, Git remote repository with this Git URL. Okay, and with that you can go ahead and deploy. So before you do that, so here they're actually assuming that you have the code that they wanted you to have, but instead we only have server.js. To deploy to Heroku, you actually need something called a proc file, which is short for process file, I believe, which is to tell Heroku or give configuration to Heroku about how to start your application. In my case, it's just this. If you have package.json, npm, and all that, you can actually even say npm start. I actually need to use that. I'm just gonna say npm yes. So apart from actually creating this proc file, you also need to tell Heroku which version of Node you need. So if you go to the deploying Node.js applications, you can actually see how you can declare app dependencies, and then like how to mention the engine. So I'm just gonna go ahead and like go to this and mention the engine as 12.x. Okay, and as you can see, there is start script. So I can say node server.js, or I can also type npm start. Both would work. Okay, and with that, I'm just gonna see the status, add package.json, git commit message, add package.json, git add proc file, git commit message, add proc file config for Heroku deployment, and with that, we are actually ready to go. Uh, so this is to tell Heroku how to start your application. Let's try it out. Npm start, and it starts, and we can do a curl from the localhost. Okay, so now we have the application code, and we have proc file to tell how to start the application. And what this is, this web colon means is that your application is a web application. It's a API, and it listens at port. It listens at HTTP or HTTPS. Okay, and you also have your package.json. It's especially to mention the engines. The other things are really not that necessary. And you're also using the start script, but if you don't use it, you will just say no thing. No. And now we have all this. The other thing to actually try is you can actually run your Heroku application in your local and try it out. So you can say Heroku local web and see how that goes. So it's starting, what you just put over here, and you can see that working. One thing to note is that you will have to git ignore your node modules and other directories. So ensure that is in place. And the other thing to note is that you also need to specify your port number. I'm not sure if it's mentioned here. Okay, so the port number of your application should not be hard coded in your application. It should instead be available as an environment variable. So, for example, so this port number 8080 cannot be hard coded. Instead, it should be something like this. Maybe something like this dot port. So what this means is that so your application will start at this port, the port environment variable, if that is present, or it will start at port 8080. This is key because Heroku provides this port, and it can be a random port, and your application will start at that port, and the whole deployment is dependent on that port number, or else if you have a hard-coded port number, it will not work. Okay. With that, so I'll put all these links. You can check it out. Yeah, why the port number has to be mentioned. But it's just a thing, right? If it is through web, if your deployment is a web deployment, web app, web API, so you need this. So let's check git add patch and git commit message make port number configurable through environment variable, and with that we are ready for deployment. So what we just need to do is type git push Heroku master. So my branch name is master. So actually these days the branch name master is frowned upon. So I will just convert this to main, and you can check the different branches you have, and you can check the different remote references you have, and we need to push our push to Heroku remote reference our main branch, or whatever branch you want to deploy. So I have pushed it, and when you push, after you are pushing, the remote reference will actually, the remote server or the reference will actually give you some data about what it has detected, Node.js app detected, runtime, and everything. And installing binaries, 12.x. So this is from our package.json. And then the npm, it's unspecified, so it's using the default. So it's showing me what's the node version and everything. And the deploy has succeeded. So now, if I actually go to the Heroku application, which is, I can actually check out my application over here under Node.js. Oops, looks like I need to reload. Okay, so you can actually check out all your apps from your dashboard.heroku.com. And this is my application, and if you click here, so it's the application name .herokuapp.com. So you can see the hello world coming up here, and I can also copy this, and I can say curl, so I get that. Okay, so that was how you deploy a Node.js application. And if you notice, you get some cool things from Heroku. For example, you get a domain name, a subdomain name for free, and you get HTTPS. And I'm not sure if HTTP will work. So it works. You can actually also try to force your application to redirect to HTTPS when HTTP is used. But HTTP works, and HTTPS works too, right? So you can check your certificate and whatnot. So it's pretty cool. uh, and your application is now on the internet for free, and it's pretty cool because when you have side projects, you can actually host your application on the internet and show it to others, and like it's a pretty cool way to show your work as a running application on the internet instead of just talking about it. um, so yep, go ahead and deploy your applications and have fun. Yep. See you in the next video, where we will probably talk about a different service, or probably use Heroku and deploy a different kind of application, for example Golang applications, or different like Java and whatnot. Cool then, bye bye.